Good day, people of YouTube. What's going on? It's Extreme Zero here again, and today I'm bringing you yet another Extreme Game News reaction. And today, I'm disappointed. No, seriously, I am. If you've been following my channel for even just a little while, you already know how I feel about Nintendo. I do have a very strong appreciation for the company. They're the reason I got into gaming for the most part. The first video game I remember playing, I was probably about 3 years old, and that was Mario Kart 64 on the original Nintendo 64. And that was quite a long time ago. They were the ones who introduced me to the gaming scene, and I own both an original Wii and a Nintendo Wii U, and those are the only two consoles I've ever owned. So as you can see, I wouldn't call myself a Nintendo fanboy because I have an appreciation for gaming as a whole. But really, in terms of console preference, I really love my Nintendo consoles. So yesterday, of course, was their digital event, their presentation for E3 2015, and that was the biggest letdown ever. Honestly, that was a huge letdown. You know, E3 is a very special time in the gaming industry. It is basically seen as like the Christmas time for video gamers everywhere, because we get such amazing things happen during E3. We get these huge video game announcements, we get surprise reveals, you know, and of course every few years we get reveals of new hardware, so it's always a very exciting time in the industry for gamers. And you know, that E3 time, that entire week is always filled with so much excitement, and it's such an amazing thing to witness. You know, it's a worldwide, even though it's always usually held in Los Angeles, it's a worldwide thing. That's what makes it so special. And for an hour, the world's eyes were on Nintendo. The video game world's eyes were locked on Nintendo with their digital press conference, and it was a massive letdown, honestly. You know, last year I did a video around this same time last year saying how amazing of a job that they did. Their E3 2014, everything about their activities last year was pretty much on point. It was perfect. It was pretty much almost perfect. You know, there was hardly really a problem with it. Their digital presentation was so good to watch because it was just games, more games. And it made you excited to be a Nintendo owner because there was so much great games coming out at that time. You know, Mario Kart 8 had just released, and then we had Smash Brothers coming later in the year. Splatoon had been announced. You know, other games. We got a new look at Xenoblade Chronicles at that time. You know, Yoshi's Woolly Worlds. We got our first real look at it. And then also, you know, games like Devil's Third were announced, and we got a look at Bayonetta 2. And like I said, there's so much great content at their presentation last year. It was just so well done. And because Microsoft did a pretty good job last year too, but it wasn't as exciting as Nintendo, so that was a unanimously agreed thing from both normal video gamers and the media. It was almost unanimously agreed that Nintendo really took E3 2014 for the win. You know, Sony, they kind of fumbled last year too, so really the competition had fell beneath them, and that was such a surprise to see because they had their work cut out for them, you know, because that was the first time that all three console makers were sharing the spotlight with their 8th generation systems. The year before, E3 2013, the PS4 and the Xbox One weren't released yet. So E3 2014 was literally the first time where we had Nintendo systems, Microsoft system, and Sony systems all sharing the spotlight for the new generation, which is now, of course, the current generation. But, you know, this year was a really great E3 generally speaking, it was a really great E3. Microsoft and Sony did a great job, but I'll talk about that in another video. This one is fully focusing on Nintendo, and they really did not deliver in a way that they should have, honestly. You know, and they had what looked like such a beautiful red carpet going into the show. I mean that figuratively speaking, but like Microsoft, I mean all their major competitors went before them, right? Microsoft went after Bethesda, and Sony closed out day zero. So both of their competitors went before them, excluding, you know, third-party companies. And they had the work cut out for them again because Microsoft did a pretty good job once again. And they made the big announcement of Xbox One getting backwards compatibility, which was really good. It was a really awesome announcement. And then Sony, my God, Sony brought down the house. Like I said, I'm going to go into more details about this on another video, but Sony brought down the house. They did absolutely absolutely beautiful presentation from beginning to end. And so Nintendo, they had some stiff competition going into it. You know, they were coming in after everyone else, but it was the same thing last year. Microsoft and Sony went before them last year as well, and they swept the rug from under everyone's feet. So everyone was expecting them to do it again, because like, if you're gonna have a presentation that good last year, definitely you're gonna have another good one this year. And it's like they looked so prepared for it, because 2 weeks ago we had a Nintendo Direct Micro, which announced a few new titles off the bat way before E3. And then on top of that, we just had our Super Smash Bros. DLC announcements. You know, a lot of DLC was just released for the title. And there was so much things that were revealed beforehand that where we thought, okay, they're cutting away the fat for the rest of the presentation. If they're gonna go through the trouble of making a Nintendo Direct, obviously there's got to be some really good stuff coming for the digital event. But no, that was not the case at all. It wasn't, and that's what disappointed me. Like, I honestly did not think that it would have sucked the way it sucked. Like, I was trying not to get hyped, because I hate getting myself excited for something only to be let down, so I've learned to try and keep my expectations low regardless of what it is. Even if it looks really promising, I should just try to keep my expectations low so I'm not disappointed completely. But I couldn't help getting excited, like the night before. I honestly could not help getting excited. I was talking with my colleagues about it, because I work for Nintendo Enthusiasts, and we're talking with them, and everyone was excited. It was like, oh yeah, man, Nintendo's gonna have an awesome presentation again this year. You know, they did a really good job last year. You know, we had all this stuff revealed beforehand, so there's obviously got to be a lot of good stuff coming. But no, there wasn't. That is really let me down. Like, it did not have to be this way, and it's so weird how they went about doing things. I mean, they opened the show with Muppets, which I thought was just genius. Like, I was not expecting it. Like, last year they had like a Robot Chicken style kind of animation thing going on throughout the show, which was really funny. And then this year they do Muppets. I was like, oh my goodness, you guys can't be serious. Like, you guys are on drugs to have to come up with this. But it was so funny. And I mean, it just reminding you of the type of company that Nintendo is, that they love to have fun. You know, they love to have fun with their fans. They love to have fun with themselves. You know, that's just what they're all about, is playing games and having fun. You know, so we really get to see them like loosen up a bit. But at the same time, like just after that, you know, they immediately went into Star Fox Zero, which I thought was pretty cool. Seeing the footage firsthand, it looked pretty well done. But at the same time, as I watched the trailer a little more, my expectations dropped a bit, because it does look like it's still in a pretty rough state. And finding out that Platinum is actually behind it is really cool. And Platinum has a very long history of making amazing games. You know, if you don't know Platinum Games, you at least probably know what they've made. You know, they've done stuff like Vanquish and Metal Gear Rising, and of course the Bayonetta series, Bayonetta 1 and 2. And of course, like other titles like the Wonderful 101, which was an exclusive back in 2013 for the Wii U. So yeah, they have a pretty long line of doing some really amazing games, and to see them now working on a first-party Nintendo title is really cool. And Star Fox, you know, we haven't seen that in almost a full decade, so it's great to see that the series is coming back. It looks pretty good. It's still a rough around the edges, but coming from Nintendo and coming from Platinum, especially, I definitely think it's going to hopefully, you know, improve as the months go by. But it was after Star Fox Zero that everything in their presentation just began to fall apart. Like, it just got continuously more and more boring. It got monotonous. Like, by the time it was over, I literally had a headache, because it was like I felt drained. You know, I was laying off on the couch and I felt drained. I was like, oh my goodness, what did I just watch? Like, this can't be Nintendo. Like, you guys kicked butt last year, so how could you come back and do whatever this is? It was not the way it should have been at all. And what was even stranger is the fact that they, you know, just like last year, they have their Nintendo Treehouse live stream, which is literally hours of looking over, of watching, you know, Nintendo Treehouse personnel and even developers come on and actually play the games live. It's live to give you like a better look at the announced titles. And they made some announcements there as well. Like, for instance, Fatal Frame, which was not in the event, got a release date, which I found was really strange. You know, the fact that they didn't even mention that Platinum Games was helping make Star Fox in the digital event. That also came during the, you know, the Nintendo Treehouse live stream, which I thought was really strange. You know, so they had like missing holes that they filled in with the stream, but it was so strange. Like, okay, I get that you want to make like supplementary announcements, but don't leave out the major stuff to announce after it. It was so weird. And I mean, like, honestly, they really dropped the ball this year. Like, they could have done so much better, and they did not. You know, they did not. And looking at the game lineup, it's really good. Like, the majority of the titles were good, but it's the fact that a lot of the titles were actually 3DS titles that were announced yesterday, which I found so strange. Like, they seem to be paying more attention to the 3DS than they were paying to the Wii U. And that did not make any sense to me at all, because the 3DS is selling like hotcakes. The new Nintendo 3DS just released, and that has boosted the 3DS family's momentum even further. So the 3DS is doing just fine. It's good that, of course, you definitely want to make new announcements to show people that more games are definitely on the way. Okay, fine, beautiful. But the Wii U is the one that's struggling. The Wii U is the red-headed stepchild right now. You know, it's the big elephant in the room. It's the standout console in the industry. You know, the Xbox One is finally starting to get some universal respect, and of course the PS4 is being hailed as like the holy grail of gaming since it was announced. Okay, so you don't gotta worry about those guys. They're doing just fine. It's the Wii U that needs the most help, yet Nintendo seems to not be willing to support it in the way that they should. Now, I'm sure that there are more titles that are definitely coming, but the way that they're handling this right now, it almost makes it seem like they're starting to wind down development. I'm trying not to sound doom and gloomish, but it almost seems like they're starting to wind down development in preparation for Codename NX, which is their next system. And I haven't really addressed it here before, but I've addressed it in my articles on Nintendo Enthusiast about how I think for starters, we don't know what the hell that thing is. We don't know if it's a next home console. We don't know if it's a handheld. We don't know if it's a hybrid, because, Nintendo is weird. So they're going to do something that nobody's going to expect anyway. But we don't even know what the hell it is. And people are already saying, 2016, it's going to be announced and it's going to be released right afterwards. Woohoo! But no. If Nintendo really is winding down development for Wii U games, and if they are really, really beginning to move over to NX already, they're going to do a lot more damage to themselves, even more than they did with this digital event. Like, everyone has Nintendo out in the cold right now. They're burning them with with pitchforks and knives. But if they were to go ahead and really and honestly replace the Wii U with the NX next year, I promise you that would not be a pretty sight. Even the diehard Nintendo fans would probably look at them like, what in the hell you thinking about? Because the Wii U just came out in 2012. It's 2.5 years old. People seem to keep forgetting how young this thing is. PS4 and Xbox One came out just a year afterwards. This thing is young. It hasn't even reached a full 3 years yet. So if the NX comes out next year, that would only make roughly about 3.5 years. Nintendo consoles in general last 5 years minimum, and then they replace it. So it's very strange that people are coming up with this, this theory, but at the same time, Nintendo isn't really trying to just persuade them otherwise anyway, because it's like I just said, it looks like they're starting to wind down development in the way that they're handling their announcements of Wii U titles. But I don't want to think that that's the case, because I want to have a little bit of faith in them. I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible. I want to have a little bit of faith in them and say, they're not that stupid. They're making some stupid decisions, but they're not that stupid. Because for a company that has been in the business for 30 years, and they've seen what their former competition, the ones who are no longer in the console business, like Sega, perfect example. They saw what happened to Sega. Sega just kept replacing their systems, replacing. People eventually just got tired and said, what, screw it, you guys. If you guys are just going to keep releasing system after system, well, why should I invest my money into you if it's only going to be replaced 2-3 years later, So that's what cost Sega their spot in the console business. So if Nintendo's already they've been on thin ice for a while now. So if they really want to get thrown out into the Arctic Ocean, figuratively speaking, then that's all they have to do is go ahead and replace Wii U prematurely with the NX. But anyway, not focusing on that, because that's next year's E3 when that's going to be a point of discussion. But really and truthfully, I think that Nintendo should really reconsider what they're doing. They need to reevaluate themselves, they need to regroup, and they need to make sure that they get this thing right. The Wii U has finally started to improve. You know, it's actually making money for them. I really don't want to see them kill their first bit of real good news with the system over one event. I really don't want to see that happening. I've already seen comments of people saying that they plan to sell their Wii U, that they're not even planning to invest in the NX right away. So they're making a bad name for themselves right now, and I really hope they buckle up and do themselves some justice, okay? But yeah, that's basically it. That's my thoughts on Nintendo's presentation. Like I said, it wasn't as good as it could have been. It wasn't terrible, but at the same time, it was not as good as it could have been. I'm very disappointed, and I really hope that they turn a new leaf and show us some improvements as the year continues to go on. So until next time, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and definitely make sure to go ahead and leave a comment down below. What did you think of Nintendo's events, and how do you think things look for them in the immediate future? Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and of course, to definitely go ahead and click that subscribe button so you can stay connected with all of my future uploads. And check out the rest of the channel, and because I have a lot of great content for you guys to view, so definitely make sure you go ahead and check it out. Until next time, I'm going to see you later. Have a great day, great evening, great night, whatever time of day it is. Have a good one.